This is just a little film to show some very basic features of the render that I've coded and which we will be using for SpaceM. It's a very simple world. There are basically two kinds of blocks in it already. There are a lot of tiger lily blocks and a lot of these plaid blocks. And I'm just going to spend about 8 minutes doing something very, very basic. Just basic building, or actually mostly destroying. So first, we look at that plaid escarpment, and we'll go over and make a sort of mark on it. So we'll know when we get back to it, if we ever do. And I'm using the mouse now to snipe a block into the escarpment, and now a much larger one. I use the keyboard to make the thing I was sniping much larger. And that's a complex block that I'm sniping. Oh, that's me, Harrison. Transparent PNG image, or you could call it a sprite of me hanging on the face of a otherwise transparent cube. So, things to notice. First of all, look at the frame rate, which is over on operating system window in the kernel log. You see these numbers appearing, these column of numbers. Each number represents a frame. And you see that the frames take generally a little more than 1/10 of a second. It's in milliseconds. Now I am making a tunnel at right angles, or along one of the axes of the world, so it's not diagonal to the cubes. And we're going to make a very long tunnel and see where it goes. As long as it stays up around, 7-8 frames a second on average, it feels perfectly controllable. There's no stickiness in the interface, and so I'd rather have the higher resolution that comes with lower frame rates. At least when I'm making a movie to show off like this. So what's happening here is I'm sniping an empty voxel into a solid voxel. And I'm sniping it into, so not in front of the intersection point of the sniping ray and the voxel, but a little bit further. And so, with the result that if we're looking at a voxel, we drill a hole into it. And I'm also moving through this lengthening tunnel. So once in a while I stop digging and let myself catch up. I should try not to chortle while I'm doing the soundtrack, because chortling doesn't sound professional. Now here we're coming to something interesting. We're coming to complete blackness. What is the complete blackness? This is actually the edge of the world. The whole world, of course, is just one cube, and we're at the edge of it here. And we're past the edge of the world. Now we've wrapped around and we're coming back into the same block because it wraps at the edges. Of course, the rays could wrap too, so you didn't even see the edge of the world because you simply keep running into it. But you eventually wrap around just the same. And I got tired of building a small tunnel, so I just enlarged the block that I'm digging with. And now I'll turn around, and we can see the entrance to the tunnel as it comes out into the larger tunnel. And now we'll keep digging, and we should eventually get back to that plaza with the escarpment. Eventually, not so long, yes. Notice the interference patterns on that complex clad object. The interference patterns are the shape they are because they're the intersection of rays from the camera, which are arranged trigonometrically according to spherical or cylindrical coordinates, and I think spherical in this case. So you can think of the camera as being a solid angle, you know, a squarish solid angle section of a solid sphere, and so the intersection of rays on a grid in that solid angle of rays of cubic orthogonal structure creates that interference pattern. Okay, so didn't make a big deal about it, but there was a mirror sphere there. Now I'm drawing little lobsters, little lobster mosaic blocks, and I'm sniping out of, which means that I draw the new voxel a little bit toward the camera from the intersection of the sniper ray, with the result that, of course, I build up toward the camera. Now, the take-home message of this is a point that I'm trying to get across to the community of people who are potentially interested in this sort of thing, which is hopefully larger than the community of people who actually are interested in it. My point is that people who are interested in Minecraft, Blockinator style games, people who are interested in building virtual worlds with blocks, eventually all come to the realization that it would be really nice if you could have blocks of different sizes so you could build complex structures out of blocks and make them small. There's no good way to do that using a rasterizer. The only way to do it at all with a rasterizer is to make a hybrid, I think. A hybrid ray tracer rasterizer, where you essentially have this engine, but you have to shoot fewer rays per frame, because what you're doing is building up a list of cubes that are hit by rays, and then displaying those with a rasterizer, a GPU. And I wrote one of those last year, and it works well. But I decided that by the time it works rather well. But this is a pure ray tracer, which has the advantage that you can have mirrors, you can have transparent color. It's much nicer than the hybrid. The hybrid, however, does let you do fast full screen that looks very detailed. It just isn't more detailed than this. It just looks more detailed. That's the problem with rasterization. It's good at showing you what looks like hard edges and tremendous amounts of detail, but the detail doesn't correspond to geometry in the world. It can't. And so now I think we'll finish just by digging randomly. Again, when I dig, all I'm doing is I'm drawing with an empty block into a solid block. And there's a little bit of gravity, so you see that I'm falling. Like Alice down the rabbit hatch. But I just gave myself a little boost there. The camera, you see, has momentum, and it also has inertia. You'll see that I slow down again. I'm not doing that. It's just slowing down toward the rate of fall that it stays at. Ah, and there's the edge of the world as we fall. Remember, the world is just a cube. Or actually, it's a cube torus in this case. It's a torus because it wraps around. And so the whole world is different than any of the cubes inside it because they don't wrap around, obviously. Well, and so we leave the